Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about the most interesting and the most fundamental class in Java, that is the string class. The string class is such a fundamental class that you cannot imagine writing the most basics of programs without this class, as you can see here that even the main method needs a string parameter. So it is a very fundamental class. Now understand that string is a class and there could be various ways of creating an object of the string class. One of the most basic ways of creating an object of a string class is you can say something like this. You can say string str equals to, you can say hello. But since this is a class, you can even create an object of a string class in the conventional way in which we create the object of a class. So you can also say something like this. You can say string str1 equals to new string, and inside bracket you can mention a string. So you can say something like this. Okay. Today I am going to show you a program which will generate a or you can say which will build a whole string using a simple for. So what we will do for this particular example is that we will create a string variable alphabets, okay, and we will initially set this to a blank string. So initially this particular string is not going to have any value. Further, what we will do is we will use a simple for loop to build this particular alphabet string, and it will contain all the alphabets from A to Z. In case if you are not aware of what a for loop is or how to use a for loop, you can refer to this particular video that I have shared a link here of to see how the various looping statements work. In case if you are also not aware of how to create a project, how to create a class, how to create the various methods in Java, you can refer to this particular video which shows you how to create these various elements, that is a project, a class, a method. Okay. Going further, what we will do is we will create a character variable here C, which will begin with A. Then we will say that C has to be less than or equal to Z, and we will say C++. So this will increment through all the various alphabets which are available from A to Z, and we will keep concatenating each of these to the alphabets variable. Okay. So we will say this is going to be C. Once this is done, at the end of it, we can print the whole alphabets variable. So we can say sysout and then we can print alphabets. Okay. So let's see how this particular program is behaving and how this is working. So as you can see, it has concatenated all the alphabets to the alphabets variable, and it is showing us all the alphabets here, A to Z. So this is a very simple and a basic program that I have shown you here, which shows how to create a string object, how are we concatenating the various characters to a string variable, and how does it appear when you try to print it. Let's go ahead and understand what are the various functions or what are the various methods which are available in the string class. So for that, I will show you a list of various important functions which are available in Java. So let's have a look at it. As you can see here, these are the various available functions which are, these are not although the whole comprehensive list, but these are the most important ones which I think one as a developer we should know. So these are the various ones. Char at, which tells you which particular character is present at a particular location. Concat, which allows you to concat a string to another one. Contains, which allows you to check if a particular string is available or a particular set of characters are available in the string. Ends with, checks whether a particular string ends with a series of characters. Equals ignore case will help you in comparing two strings irrespective of what case they are written in. Index of gives you the index of a particular character in the string. Last index of again gives you the last index of a particular character in the string. Length basically gives you the length of a string. Replace will allow you to replace a series of characters in the string variable that you have. Starts with checks whether the particular string starts with a set of characters or not. Substring allows you to divide a particular string into a smaller string. To lowercase helps you in converting a particular string to lowercase. To uppercase will convert it to uppercase. Trim will help you to remove the leading and trailing spaces from the string. Okay, so let's try to write all these examples here and see how they behave. So let's quickly start with, we will say sysout, and we will start with the most basic method of the string. We will say length and we will say plus alphabets dot length. Okay, let's see how this behaves. Okay, so this will say the length is 26 as we were expecting it to be. Similarly, let's try and write all the functions and see how their behavior is. So we will say what shall we take the next? Let's take caret. So we will say caret 5. So we will say we will check which is the character at the 5th location. So let's say alphabets dot caret and we will provide a position as 5. So let's first write all these and then we'll see how each of them behaves. Okay, so we'll again say sysout and let's take the next one, that is concat. So for concat function we will need another string variable here. So we will have to say string. Let's take a string key and let's have this as alphabets, and what we will do is we will concatenate our alphabets variable to the key variable. So what we'll do is here that we will say key dot concat and we will say alphabets. So this will concat. Let's see these two how they behave, then we'll go further. So if you see caret 5, it says is F. Understand, because this is string is also quite similar to that of array. The indexing of string also starts with 0. So when I say character at 5, it is actually giving me a character at location 6. If you see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. That is why we are getting F as a value. Okay. Also if you see here, the key variable and the alphabets variable have got concatenated. So that is how the concatenate or the concat method behaves. Next, let's see the contains method. So we will say sysout. Okay, and this method will return us a true or a false if the string contains the set of characters that we have saved. Okay, so let's say alphabets dot contains, and we need to provide a series of characters here. So we can put them in double quotes here, and let's check if JKL is present in our sequence of characters. Okay, so let's try to run this and quickly see if it is returning true or false. So you can see it is returning true. We can also try some different combination, like let me say JAL and see if this works. Okay, so let's try to. So you can see it is giving false because this combination JAL is not present in the alphabets variable. As you can see here, this contains A to Z. Okay, it does not contain JAL, it contains JKL. So it is not going to be present. Okay, going further, the next function that we have is ends with. Okay, so let's try to write that. We'll say sysout. Again, we'll say alphabets dot ends with, and let's say let's check if it ends with X, Y, and Z, and see if it is returning us true. Okay, so let's save this and try to quickly run. So you can see it is returning us true. But if I write something like this, ABC, in that case it is going to return us false because our string alphabets is not ending with ABC. So as you can see, it is returning us false. Okay, so let's just replace this again with XYZ. Then the next example, let's see the next example as starts with. So with that we can understand immediately here how both the functions are behaving. So when I say alphabets dot starts with, if you see here, in that case you can, if you say ABC here, in that case you will see this is going to return true, because our string alphabets is beginning with or is starting with ABC. You can see it is returning us true. Okay, there is one more variation of this wherein you can provide an offset. So let's say if I'm saying 5, it will tell me whether from 5th location is it starting with ABC. Now this one should return us false, because now from the 5th location I don't have ABC. So what I can write there is, if I write FGH, as I said earlier, the index will start with 0. So if I write FGH, this should return true, as you can see here. So the offset tells us from which location do you want to check whether it is starting with that or not. So again, this is also a very important, parameter that we have here, which we can use to our benefit. Going further, we can now check equals ignore case. Okay, so let me take an example for equals ignore case. Again, understand equals ignore case will give you true even if the cases are not same. Okay, so what we can do here is we can say key dot equals ignore case. Now here, if I write something like this also, alphabets, okay, colon and a space. So this is an exact string. Okay, you can see the characters are exact, but the case is not true. Here alphabets is in title case, here it is in small case. Even in this case, equals ignore case will return us true. Let's see. So you can see it is returning us true. But even if I return this single space, this is going to return us false, because now the characters are not matching, no? So it will return us false. So what equals ignore case does is it compares two strings which are exactly same in the characters that is there, but it will ignore what? It will ignore the case. So even if this would have been written like this would have still returned us true, because the only difference that is here is the case. So you can see it is returning us true. Okay, going further, the next function that we have is index of. Index of, as I said earlier, is going to return you the index of a particular variable, a particular character in the string. So let me again try alphabets, okay, dot index of, and let's take H as a character. So I'll have to say index of H. Okay, so I need to provide a character here, and it will get me the index of H in the alphabets variable. So let's see what it returns. So as you can see, it is returning 7. Ideally the location is 8, but because the index is 0, as I said earlier, it is returning us 7. So you can see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Correct? Okay. Going further, let me add another character, another H here. I'll say alphabets. This I'm doing to show you last index of. I'll say alphabets dot, or I can say plus. Or rather, what we can do is let's take this example again. So what we'll do here is we will say key. So we are changing the key now. We are saying key equals to key plus key dot concat alphabet. So now the whole key will become alphabets colon and the whole set of alphabets that we have. Earlier that was not the case. Now if I try sys out and I say key dot last index of, and let me put B, okay, here in the parameter. So this should return me what? This is going to return me the B which is there in the alphabets that will get concatenated to it. Okay, let's see. So if you see here, alphabets is going to be something like this. This is returning me 12. So actually it's the 13th location, as I said earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So actually the 12th position, but 13th character because it starts with 0. That's okay. But if in the same example if I say now index of rather than last index of, see, this is how it is going to behave. Let's see how this is output. So it will show us 5, which is basically the first occurrence of B and not the last occurrence. So last index of gives you the last occurrence of a particular character, and index of gives you the first occurrence of it. So that's how they are different from each other. Going further, the next function that we have is replace. As you can see here, replace basically helps you in replacing a set of characters with others. So let's see an example for that. So let's say key dot replace, and let's try to replace this whole alphabets with, let's say, character. So what I'll do is I'll take this particular whole string, or rather let me just take alphabets. I'll take alphabets, and I want alphabets to get replaced with character. So if you see here, characters. So if you try to run this particular code, it will show you the alphabets have got replaced with characters. Now it is not necessary that you replace the whole thing. You can even replace single character. Like let's say I want to replace all the S which are there in it with all the, let's say, R. In that case, wherever I have S, it will replace that with R. So you can see here, the S has got replaced with R. Similarly here, the S that we had has got replaced with R. Okay, so even it could be a single character that you're replacing, or it can be a series of characters. Okay, going further, the next function that we have is starts with. Okay, I think starts with we've already done, so we'll take a substring. So let's take a substring. Substring basically gives you a part of the string. So we can say sys out and what we can write here is we can say key dot substring. Now as you can see, the substring method has two different variations or two overloaded methods. One which just has a beginning index, another which has a beginning and an end index. So if you just provide a beginning index, it will give you from the character that you've given, the beginning index, to the end of the string. When you provide a beginning index and an end index, it will be from the beginning index up to the end index. So let's see both as an example. So I'll say 15 as my beginning index in one example, and then a similar example I will create and I'll say comma 17. So this will give me two examples, one that goes from 15 to the end of the string, the another one that goes from 15 to 17. Now again understand, 17 here is not inclusive, means it will not include the 17th character. It will only include a character number 15 and character number 16. Okay, let's see as an example here. So you can see it is starting from 15 going till the end of the string. Here it is starting from 15 going up to 17 and not inclusive of 17. Okay, so only E and F are coming here. So that is one way of writing it. Again remember, the end index that you write is not inclusive, okay, with substring. Going further, we have two lowercase and two uppercase. These are again two very important functions that we can use. This is usually helpful when you're comparing two strings, and let's say they come in, they might come in, any sort of case. When you're not aware of what case they can come into, you can convert them to one particular case and then go and compare. Of course, you can always use equals in lowercase also for a similar kind of requirement, but yes, you can also use two lowercase and two uppercase for that. So let's take this out and let's say key dot two lowercase. So what we'll do, what it will do is it will convert all the characters. You can see here alphabets A here in alphabets is in title case. It will replace that with a it will convert it into a lowercase. So you can see the whole set has got converted into lowercase. Similarly, if I say key dot to uppercase, this is going to convert the key to uppercase. Let's see an example how it behaves. So you can see here the whole set has got converted into capital, right? So that is how it is going to behave. So the next function that we have is trim. So let's see how trim works. Now for seeing an example of trim, what we can do is we can add some leading and trailing spaces in the alphabets. Okay, and then we can check how it is. So I can say alphabets dot alphabets plus equals to, in double quotes I can give a lot of space. This is just for you to see that it is adding trailing spaces. So I'll just try to run this and show you that it has added some leading and trailing spaces. You can see here there are some leading and trailing spaces here. So I'll just remove this particular dot now so that I can remove those leading and trailing spaces. So it is simple. You need to say sysout and you need to say alphabets dot trim. So what will this do? This will remove the leading and trailing spaces. Let's see how it works. So you can see there are no leading spaces or trailing spaces now with alphabets. Okay, so this is how trim works. Let's now see an example of how strings are immutable. So what I will do is I will create a string variable here and I will name it as immutable. Okay, and let's put a value inside this that says strings are immutable. Okay, and a semicolon after the end of it. Okay, so that's there. What we'll do now is we'll try to concatenate our alphabets to immutable. So I'll say immutable dot concat. Okay, and I'll say alphabets and semicolon. Now the general assumption would be that when I'll print immutable, this should show me strings are immutable, then a full stop, and then the whole set of alphabets. Now that is not going to be the case because strings are immutable. They do not change their original value. Okay, because of their immutability. So let's see that is an example here that if you print immutable here, you will still see that it is printing only strings are immutable. It is not printing strings are immutable along with the alphabets because it is not going to change its original form. Let's see how it behaves. So if you run this, you can see strings are immutable. That's the only part that it has printed. It has not added the alphabets. But if you want such a kind of behavior, you will have to say something like this. Okay. Now what is happening here is that we are trying to create a completely new string. Understand? This is one of the biggest drawbacks of strings, that every time you try to change a particular string and put it into a new variable, this is going to create a completely fresh new variable. It is not going to be using that original memory location or original variable that was there, that is marked for garbage collection. This is one of the biggest drawbacks. So you can see now it is showing, right? Strings are immutable, then a space, and then the alphabets. So this is how it can. Again, understand, if I take even the simplest of a case, okay, here strings, alphabets with a blank, then the whole 26 set of characters, and then again concatenating these two alphabets. This is going to in all take around 27 different string variables or string variables and different memory locations, and most of them although are going to get garbage collected immediately, but yes, it is going to occupy some 27 different memory locations for this whole thing to this small for loop to work. Okay, so this is one of the biggest drawbacks of using strings. One, immutable, although it is an advantage, it also becomes disadvantage at times. So if you are interested in learning how to avoid these issues, these wastage of memory location that happens with strings because they are immutable, do check out my next video that will be coming this Friday, which will show you how to avoid this problem and yet leverage all the benefits that are available in string, all the various functions that you saw here, all the various methods and their functionalities that you saw here. If you want to even learn that, how to leverage these benefits along with avoiding the issues of immutability, please check out my next video that will be coming up on this Friday. Thank you for watching my video. Do like my videos. If you find my content useful, subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends and family so that everyone can get advantage with my videos. Thank you. Bye-bye.